The next question will start.
One more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem. I heard some very different responses tonight. What I felt I heard from Jen and to some degree Kurt, and I'll even give Nathan his props tonight, was a little bit of a plan. A plan to cut outside of the classroom. We do have to make adjustments to our budget, and you need a plan to do it. What I heard from other candidates was a little bit of historic rationale for why cuts might need to be made. And that concerns me. What really concerns me is that, yes, that history is accurate. There were cuts to Bayside and MLK. There have been restorations and expansions of programs as well. That's part of why we're in a deficit, but they've been done irresponsibly. They've been done without making the right adjustments in debt service, and overhead, and consultants. And what's behind all of this? Well, what's behind all of this are two different philosophies. A philosophy around support those schools and all students, or a philosophy around prioritizing one set of students, right here at Bayside MLK. I'm the first to support that population, but I'm also the first to sign up to support everybody. This philosophy was reflected in the last election. There was a team that vetted Deborah Turner as a candidate who ascribes to this philosophy of one school over the other. That same team, this might be having battery problems, I don't know, that same team interviewed me. And that same team is backing Bonnie and Ida. And I'm very concerned about the endorsements and what they stand for.
Thank you. For this question, we'll start with Ida. There were several people, 7 or 8 people who submitted a question with regard to 2 schools. And the question is, please explain the one school concept. Would Willow Creek Academy walk away from its charter, or would WCA expand as the school? Can the one school guarantee an education for each child in the district?
So, Willow Creek is not going to walk away from its charter. That is not even something that needs to be on the table. And I grew up in a time when there really was only one school. In fact, 17 years ago, there was one school in North Bay, I believe, who may have had 50, 60 students. I'm not really sure. They were in our annex that is over just to the left of us. But there was an opportunity to plan a really robust one-school system before parents decided that they needed to do a charter school to have other options. And so before a one-school model can ever happen, I believe, within the 94965 district, it has to be well vetted out, without a doubt, without people's voices being stamped out, without people feeling like they know the right way of how to teach our children, whoever those children, specifically children of color. We know what it is that you need, and we know how to do it, and we have the right answers, and we and on and on. No, it definitely, some voices need to come to the table. And I do just want to quickly say that Deborah Turner and those who are backing us did so because they wanted to make sure that programs were in place at this, in the public school.
Please, no laughing.
So I actually have been asking this question about what the vision is for the one school because it's really unclear to me. I think it's an easy thing to say, and either there's a lack of transparency or there's a lack of clear vision about how we're going to get there. I do think that it would be wonderful to have one school and have all kids together. There are some serious legal challenges and issues that would have to be worked through. There are just sort of fundamental facilities issues that would need to be worked through. I think there are a lot of possibilities. But what it's going to require, whatever it is going to be talking. And I think we have been endorsed by the Democratic Party. We are the only candidates who've been endorsed by the Democratic Party. We've been endorsed endorsed by Lynn Woolsey. We've been endorsed by Tony Thurmond, who's running for the Secretary of Education. We've been endorsed by a lot of people. So I'm sorry, Josh, if you're worried about the people in Sausalito and Marin City who are endorsing us, because a lot of people care about this district and they care about this election. And I need to raise one other issue about, you talked about legal issue. We do spend a lot of money in this district on legal expenses. And one of the things, Jen, you brought a legal action against this board, and that has cost us a lot of money. And I think that's one of the things we need to get away from, is suing each other. We need to start talking together and banding together and coming to a consensus on how to move this district forward.
You know, speaking from my heart, living in Sausalito for the past 40 years, it seems, my gut feeling is that the people I talk to in Sausalito, and I'm a dark horse candidate, you know, I'm a rebel, you know, I'm a fighter, I'm a nonviolent activist. I know it's wrong. Sausalito is white, it's prejudice, you know. One school would be beautiful, that would be heaven. But in reality, the white people in Sausalito do not want their kids mixing with the Marin City colored kids. That's the bottom line. I'm telling you from my gut. I'm talking to people. People are taking their kids in private schools, sending them off everywhere. They talk about all these liberals, Republicans, and Democrats. They talk about, you know, that we're not racist. Sausalito is a white, racist, liberal, socialist town. I'm telling you the truth. So there's 3 blacks in our whole town. 2 are dead. No, all of them are dead. We don't have a single black person left on the waterfront of Sausalito. And that's how white, racist, socialist Sausalito is thinking. They won't even give you a shower on the hill if you're an anchor out. I mean, they just look down on us. Hippies and blacks to look down.
Okay. Much like Monty, I've been curious about this for a while. This was actually one of the reasons that I decided to run. In deciding whether or not I should run, I asked a lot of people a lot of opinions, right? They've been looking at this problem a lot longer than I have. They've been residents a lot longer than I have. They've been school staff. One of the first I talked to was Jeff Knowles, who is on the board of Willow Creek, and he was upfront, single K through 8. That's what I think we should go towards. He actually spoke about it to the Sausalito City Council in 2017, and that was probably and then in the first forum, we've heard from all 3 candidates on the Team Up for All Kids that single school is the way we want to go. Last night, they repeated that as well. I've heard it could be a traditional school, it could be an independent charter, it could be a dependent charter, it could be a system that has a lower school and an upper school, it could all be on one campus. So it's either a long time in the making that lacks a lot of details, or for a team that really focuses on transparency, there isn't a lot of transparency. But I'm fascinated by this, right? I want to know what the details are of a single school system, because if it's a charter, legally we can't guarantee seats to all kids. Charters have to do a lottery if they exceed capacity. Also, if you look at it, there's not a proven ability to educate every student population in our district at Willow Creek that is equal or better to every student population that currently is served by Bayside MLK.
Okay, so the couple of questions then. The one school system. I think that when you're looking at a district of 530 kids, just to understand, that's smaller than most K-5 schools in California, okay? So it probably does make sense to have one school serving this entire community. Right now, with 2 schools, especially in the upper school, here at Bayside, we have 8 8th graders, 8 7th graders, and 8 6th graders. That is not right. That is not an upper school experience that the kids should have. They need to be working and studying with the 180 upper school students at Willow Creek. And by the way, most of the students in our district actually do go to school together. Most Marin City kids do go to school with Sausalito kids. Most African American kids and Latino kids and white kids and Asian kids are going to school together. And so to put that up as a never will happen, I just think creates a fake wall that makes for the wrong conversation. I think what we need to start with is, what do the kids need? And the kids need consistent community that cares for them. And if we can work together, using the ample funds that we have to support a single school system, I think that's going to serve all the kids best. Thanks.
Thank you. Look, I just heard Willow Creek will never give up its charter. But I just heard the current Willow Creek president saying, I really want to look at one school. And I've talked to him at length, as well as other leadership at Willow Creek over the years. And I'm not convinced they're married to it has to be a charter. I know I'm not. I heard Bonnie say it's really unclear what the vision is for one school. Well, that vision starts with a commitment to a process that gets you there. It doesn't start with a presupposed structure or solution, because that's part of the process of working with the charter leadership and the community to drive to the best solution. I can tell you, I don't care whether it's a charter or not, but I do feel strongly about the value of a K-8 structure. There's a lot of things to discuss. I heard last night, not tonight, Ms. Green say, interesting in one school, but not now. I've been hearing not now for 6 years. If you don't start the process of looking at it, not now turns into never. We have a commitment from our team to earnestly work towards this goal of bringing our communities together and ending the fight. We can solve the technical and legal issues, the capacity issues. These are all easily solvable problems, but it starts with commitment. Over and over.
It's my turn. Regarding the idea of a one-school solution, I do believe that with such a small group of children and such great resources, that we should pool all of that together into one school system. How that works, I think, to prescribe that in any detail without building consensus first on the idea with our community, without exploring some options, understanding pros and cons, and then frankly, having a robust community engagement process around that decision would be irresponsible. So exactly how's it going to work for us to lay that out would be totally inappropriate. So I apologize that the details people are thirsting for don't exist yet. But we, as Josh had mentioned, the three of us are earnestly wanting to do that work. We have a lot of research to do. We have a lot of community work to do, and we're ready to do that work. Bonnie mentioned the legal actions and all kinds of money being spent, and something that I have actually started this summer. There is a legal action. I aim to get a decision from the Marin Superior Court that there is no conflict of interest for parents because this conversation is divisive conversation out in the ecosystem. Turns out the legal action is actually being paid for, not by funds out of the budget, but it's paid for by the insurance, so there's no additional fees for that legal action. However, legal actions that Temper Turner and others have taken have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars from the district budget, just to clarify.
Thank you. Our next question, we'll start with Bonnie. And this question, again, several people have submitted this question or a similar question. How would you plan to solve the achievement gap problem?
Okay. Well, I think that there are a lot of things. One is identifying and setting high expectations for our kids, and the other is developing a community school. So the achievement gap is the challenge for low-income kids who are not doing as well, and kids of color, and they're not doing as well at Willow Creek, and they're actually doing better at Bayside MLK, but we all know that we want these schools to be just as strong as possible for all our kids. So community schools are a way to bring in resources. It's for wraparound services. So there's no reason that this campus needs to be closed at 3 o'clock. Right? You keep it open, you keep activities for kids happening, you keep the kids engaged, tutoring, support, resources, but you also provide resources for the parents. You provide ESL classes, you provide language, maybe a legal clinic, job training, whatever support, but you need to find out from the community what kinds of things would be helpful. But you provide resources so that this becomes the center, this becomes the hub, this becomes the place where kids come, they learn, and their parents are also part of that support. And you also build it by providing great preschool and summer school activities. Because for a lot of kids and working parents, they don't get much of a summer, right? So providing the kind of things like the Hannah Project and the Freedom School, those are incredibly important resources as well.
Excuse me for standing. I just came down off a 40-day no solid food fast. I feel great. Lost a lot of weight. Anyways, the kids need knowledge. We need teachers that will teach them history, not just recent history. We need to empower the kids with knowledge, real knowledge, and get away from social programs, social brainwashing, conditioning the kids to be good liberal Republicans or Democrats. We're brainwashing our kids instead of teaching them who is the father of theology, Augustine, who is the father of history, Hippocrates, Herodotus, who's the father of the encyclopedia, Pliny the Elder. This is what we need to be teaching our kids, empower them. But people don't want to empower children. They want to keep them slaves. They want to keep them slaves to their power and social agenda. Just forget about all this liberal socialism and let's teach them, real knowledge. God bless you.
Okay. I think the achievement gap is something that we have to address early and consistently as our kids matriculate through our school system and onto TAM, making sure that success in high school and beyond is our ultimate goal. Third grade literacy is obviously a key metric. We've all agreed that it's important, so we'll just stipulate that the first formalized testing that we really need to make sure we nail is third grade literacy across our entire student body. Something that is a hypothesis of mine. If we did move towards a co-located campus, if we move towards a lower school or having all grades on a single campus, I would love to share the resources of our non-core classwork, art, music, history, physical education, before and after school resources, and then have two different core curriculums. One would be more traditional in nature. That would be a K1, a 2-3, and a 4-5. And then one would be kind of more charter in nature. So you can see that I don't plan to eliminate either program, but I do think we can work together on a campus. By giving that fluidity, you create a social network that all kids are together for all grades, and then they have whatever core curriculum best matches their learning style and creates stability for them on the one side and creates opportunity to specialize on the other. They can move more fluidly between them rather than picking one school or the other and hoping for the best at either. You get the best of both worlds on a single co-located campus. The same philosophy applies to middle school, but I'm running out of time, so I probably can't describe it all. But the achievement gap starts early and is repeated often.
Yeah, the achievement gap is obviously, a problem that we have in our district. We have it in the county, the state, the national level. I mean, this is the task that we all have at hand. I think that when you talk about the achievement gap, you also first have to talk about what they call the opportunity gap. So that is, you can't help a kid achieve if they're not in the classroom. So it really starts with pre-K education. How do we get kids ready to learn so that when they get into kindergarten, they're there. They know what school is like. They know what it's like to learn. They like their teacher. In early education, you've got to do early intervention. You've got to have specialists that can focus on your English learners, your low-income students that have that highest need. Give them that individual learning so that they can be ready for second, third grade and keep up. The other critical thing is summertime. The summer slip impacts low-income kids more than any other group. You need to put energy and time into that. And all of this takes programs, it takes time, it takes energy. But if we coordinate between the schools, we have more than enough expertise, people, resource, and desire to really make a serious blow at the achievement gap that we have in our community.
The achievement gap's a big problem. It's a big problem right here in our district. It's a big problem in the county. It's a big problem in the state. Big problem in the country. It's not something we're going to solve overnight. It takes consistency of leadership. It takes things like early childhood education programs, focus on reading by 3rd grade, algebra by 8th grade, community schools, something I've been advocating for 6 years. It's a great concept and great idea, but it takes commitment of a board to really put it in motion and to execute it well. One of the things that gets in the way of all of this is divisiveness. Arguing over which school deserves what, how to allocate money, whose fault is what, false information, finger pointing, blame game. The argument gets in the way of progress. What it takes to focus on the achievement gap is a board that comes together. They can hire dedicated leadership that's attractive to those leaders to come into and work for. Not just the leaders, the teachers. It takes a board that is committed to allocating money in its budget appropriately, trimming its overhead, reducing its interest on debt, putting money into the classrooms and the teachers to move the needle. When a board is split, when a board is going down a path of adopting a budget that has cuts in classrooms, and that's what this budget has, you're not going to make progress. You're going to have lawsuits, you're going to have fighting, and you're going to take your energy away from the kids.
I agree with everything that Josh and Kurt have said about the things that we would do to close the achievement gap. The reality that this is not only a South City City issue, that it's a county, state, and national issue. One of the things we haven't talked a lot about yet, though, is really working to stabilize not only the leadership at the school sites, but the teaching staff. So especially here at Bayside MLK, there's been a lot of teacher turnover in addition to the many superintendents and principals and so forth. We need to really work on making sure that the principal and the teaching team feel like this is a place that they want to stay, that they commit, and that we are making sure that we're giving them the professional development that they need to succeed, especially as it pertains to educating the folks that have the most need. This is one of the reasons why I'm so excited about the prospect of one school, is taking all of the resources that exist in our community and being able to pull them and focus priority on the kids that need the most support. So you can imagine in a classroom, if you're leveraging your resources, you could have multiple support staff in that classroom working on individualized learning plans for each of those children who's having a little bit of trouble like staying up, and keep them together with the class, all in one integrated, inclusive learning environment. I just dream of that and believe that that is going to help us close the achievement gap.
So Josh, I think it's the first time I heard you call me Miss Green. Had a ring to it. But the reason why I believe that it is not the time to do a one school model is for this very reason. The achievement gap. The kids in Bayside Martin Luther King Junior Academy lost years of not having rich programs in place to have a level playing field in regards to their academic structure. But if you take a look on the walls in 1989, I'm sorry there's a flag on that one because I don't even know what year that is, but it's probably 2007, 2008, California Distinguished School. And our kids were doing well. They were propelling. And in 2009, up until 2016, when we did decide to deficit spend and put teachers in our classes, it has begun to make a difference. But I don't think until we have rich programs and programs that are culturally sound to how our kids, that reflect on their lives. And the HANA program was something that happened this past summer that included, I see the stop sign, the Freedom School. And so I'll leave it there. You can go back and look up the Freedom School.
Thank you. Our next question, we'll start with Peter. And here is the question. In what way or ways do you plan on getting the working, single, and even unaware parents seriously involved in their children's educational journey in this district?
Well, my sister-in-law pulled my nephew out of public school, just started home teaching, and he went on to Harvard, and he's a professor at Santa Cruz University of astronomy. Homeschooling starts with the parents. I mean, you don't have to pull your kids out of school, but teach your kids knowledge and power. Knowledge is power. I haven't been in a physical altercation my entire adult life because I talk my way out of it. I tell them, I show them how stupid they are in a kind way. Most people don't even know the meaning of their own names. My name is easy, Peter, the Rock. Just start off, teach your kids knowledge, and get them away from senseless TV and maybe pull the cell phones out of their heads, And it all begins at home. It begins at home. God bless.
And you know what? I hope everybody here
Please.
just realize that when they talk about
I'm sorry.
every candidate but two up there mention state and county when we're talking about soft legal.
I'm sorry, I can't have you interrupt. Okay, go forward.
So the question is engaging single, working, and other parents in the educational process?
Yes.
So I love this question because it encourages all parents to get involved. And also, I believe part of the question was non-parent engagement as well.
Parents who are currently unaware of what goes on in the school district.
Okay.
How to get them more.
Got it. So there's a variety of ways you can engage parents, from the traditional, having evenings at the school where there's a special event, having before and after school events where they get to drop their kid off or pick their kid up late. Part of what the community school advocates is shifting the school hours so that it is more in line with the parents' working schedule. That would very much appeal to a working class audience, especially when you consider that you might want to drop your kid off a little bit later in the morning and maybe pick them up closer to 5 o'clock or after in the evening. Part of my job at Common Sense Media is that I get to look at all of the software landscape that is actually across schools across the country. And we have a huge education team that keeps everyone up to date on what that means. And in particular, I get to look at brand new ideas that are changing the landscape of software today. And several promising things are going to make it easier for parents. And one of the things I plan to bring to the role is my ability to look at software not only at both schools, but across the county, and see if we can't make it easier for all parents to understand what's going on, make sure it's easier for them to engage with the teachers individually and directly, and make sure that they don't miss any of the important information that keeps them up to date and aware of what's going on with their school, with their student. How they translate that into their homes is something that is a personal question and something that we can hopefully coach